Hello everyone, my name is Collin Benjamin and I'm from the Solomon Islands. I'm teaching in the Solomon Island National University and I'm one of the associate researchers for this ongoing research project strengthening community-based water management in the Pacific Islands. It has been a great pleasure to be part of this conference to share with you some of the very important findings related to rural water supply situation in the Solomon Islands. This research project is carried out in the Solomon Islands through Solomon Island National University in collaboration with other stakeholders or organizations. Well, here's a bit of background of why this research project is relevant to be carried out in the Pacific Islands. In most Pacific Island countries, around 80% of the national population lives in rural areas, and it is difficult for the government to provide water services to communities. These rural communities have been really struggled to manage properly the water supplies, and many of the water systems have been deteriorating. In fact, in the Solomon Islands where I live and in Fiji, over the last 20 years, the access to basic water in rural communities has decreased, even though there has been much emphasis globally to increase access. One main reason may be that communities struggle to manage water systems by themselves. The evidence from around the world is that communities do need ongoing support to achieve water systems that are sustainable, inclusive, and resilient. In the year 2006, the case for Community Management Plus began to be accepted more widely, where the plus means that government or other organizations provide ongoing support to communities. That is the purpose of this research project. The very important question for this research project is how can civil society organizations and governments better enable rural community-based water management in the Pacific to improve water, sanitation, and hygiene outcomes? There are two phases of this research. Phase number one findings identified lessons about community-based water management from communities in the current arrangements, focusing on identifying what types of support communities need. And phase number two, in which we co-develop tools to complement existing approaches to improve community water management, and these are currently being trialed now. Today, I will be sharing some of the findings about phase one from Solomon Islands, including the tools and approaches that we developed in our phase two. These are some very important key findings from phase one of the project. Water situation is not so good in almost every community. Accessing to drinking water is quite challenging despite wide sources of water around. Most water sources are not safe for drinking. The poor sanitation and hygiene practices have associated with most water containers being contaminated. Some good signs of community water management, yes, like women and youth in the water community, innovation by modifying taps, active governance, financial support, and ongoing support towards the maintenance. However, there is little impact of those initiatives in improving the water situation in the country as they continue to struggle with accessing clean, safe, and continuous water flow. So communities still experience some difficulties in achieving good water management. We assessed how well community and communities are doing in managing the water systems. The table shows a list of different actions that committees and communities would be doing in a perfect situation. What we can see is that there are many different successes and challenges being experienced in communities, and that there are many different actions communities should be doing. One of our key findings was that communities find it difficult to do all these actions because they themselves are not as strong as they could be and are not always working well with other groups in the community or other skilled people in the community like health workers. So today I will share a little more about the water committee. Most water committee are very reactive throughout. They only react to situation when there's problem. It has been a common trend until now for Solomon Islands rural communities to expect that most maintenance support comes from external groups such as government and other civil society organizations. As a result, most water communities have been very much reactive in looking after their own water supplies. We observe that a dedicated and well-known group of people is needed to manage a water system. In other words, a water committee is needed. Mostly these water committees do not form by themselves, but with the encouragement of government or civil society organizations. Most water committees do not last very long, maybe 1 or 2 years, because they do not have very many members, and after a little time, many are not able to continue with the committee. There were no youth on the water committees, so no opportunity to prepare for the future. Most water committees did have women, and mostly they felt they were well involved in making decisions. The committees did not involve other groups in the committees that would be helpful, such as the health committee or health worker or school teacher. And most water committees did not try to mobilize or engage with the broader community enough. As a result of these factors, the water committee were not able to be effective for very long and did not have enough support from the communities. There are a lot of young people in every community in the Solomon Islands. However, most of these youths have not spoken up for their views. In most of the community projects, young people were used as laborers in doing heavy tasks, but uncommonly represented in committees like in the water committee. Unfortunately, for few communities, youths not working well with leaders, leading to some damages done to the water system. There are government guidelines on what committees should do. We have developed some additional tools which are designed to add value to the existing approaches. One of these tools is Strong Water Committee. This involves sharing of video stories and discussion thereafter on what have been learned from someone's stories and suggestions for a good water management approach. The tools are currently under monitoring to see its impact in improving water management in the community. Just to conclude this presentation, something to consider when working for the WAS-related projects with the rural communities. It is very important to work with the brain and build on existing strengths. For example, working with existing committees and sharing of good stories. However, most water committees exist but are often not sustainable or effective. Two key reasons are because one, lack of diversity and number in membership. Number two, not engaging well with the whole community or other committees, skilled people in the community. So enabling actors like civil society organizations, governments can trigger committees to become stronger and work better with stories and reflections. Thank you everyone for listening and watching this presentation.